Baldur's Gate 3 is a 10 out of 10 game. With the use of 5th edition D&D and capturing the essence of tabletop gaming, it definitely solidified its place as an instant classic.
I saved you. And I'm here to save you again.
I love Dungeons & Dragons, and even though it isn't the reason why I clocked in 200 hours, and it's not the reason why so many others have joined in the process, it was really because of the bear sex. More on that later. Right from the character select screen, you are given so much freedom in how you want to make a character and how you want to play the game. You want to create a silly looking person who is scared by all and intimidates everyone in their path? Go for it. You want to do a self-insert yourself into the game? By all means. Take me, for example. I'm half black, half Mexican. The Mexicans hate me because I'm black, and the black people hate me because I'm Mexican. So I made a half drow elf. And what happens? Well, the drows don't like the fact that my blood isn't pure, and everyone else hates the fact that I'm drow.
A half drow, but a true soul. The Absolute's blessings may atone for the impurities of your blood.
I have never had a more self-insert character in a video game in my life. Plus, they got my hair. It's actually uncanny how creating a character in the game and actually playing the game through combat and role-playing is very similar to how the tabletop version goes. Simplistic, easy to learn, but really fun to master. I originally assumed they weren't going to be able to capture what it was like to have a dungeon master, someone to guide you on your journey as you go against the perils. I couldn't help but be in awe at how well the narration is there to guide you and tell you what your characters know or what they don't know.
A shock runs through your mind. This is no dream.
Oh. Or when you're randomly walking around and you fail a bunch of perception checks and you're like, oh boy, there's a trap somewhere.
It's a trap!
Mix this with the role-playing and the multiple choice dialogues. Your decisions have some weight to them, and just simply walking everywhere and exploring somewhere can trigger a social interaction. Makes for some of the most engaging gameplay I've experienced in a while. Boom! I enjoyed the fact that they separated the RP and the combat with the dice system. Whenever you're in combat, it's all percentages. Even though it's still using dice, we don't have to do a dice roll every time we make an attack or cast a spell or do a saving throw. Most of that stuff comes from outside of combat when you're doing ability checks, or maybe it'll automatically roll a dice if you're about to walk into a trap, or maybe you need to find where the hidden switch is behind a painting and your character sees something odd. Or if you fail, you kind of just gotta look for yourself and hope that you guess correctly. Now this works in two folds. Not having dice in combat makes sure that combat has this smooth flow to it. And putting dice in the ability checks, whether it be conversations or lockpicking or disarming a trap, it means there's this anticipation that you are holding your breath and hoping you get the roll that you need for that moment. And since I've brought up combat, I gotta tell you how fantastic it is. Because the action bar you get at the bottom is simplistic and follows the 5th edition rule. You don't know how many times I've tried to explain what a bonus action is and how your action isn't equated to your movement when I'm trying to tell or teach people how to play 5th edition, but because of how simplistic everything works and how whenever you use an action you lose your little circle or you keep it or things go gray or light up, and they even have little tabs at the bottom where you can sort through and you know what you can use when you don't accidentally use the wrong thing where it's supposed to be. Everything's laid out and the visual display is great for you to tell what you need to do when you need to do it. On top of this, leveling up always makes you feel just a bit more powerful. Till being a martial character that can 1v1 a boss, or a spellcaster that will incinerate groups of enemies. The game is really balanced in a way for encounters to always give you something to think about and challenge you in different ways. And yeah, there's some that you just steamroll through, but there are so many different types of enemies and variations when it comes to passive abilities, spells you have to deal with, or maybe just fighting styles that the enemies take on themselves that make every encounter feel unique and fulfilling when you solve the combat in your own tactical way. And let me tell you, the game lets you have any playstyle you like. Whether it's the min-max, I want the best averages and sustainability as possible, or the person that is just looking to cause as much chaos and fun as possible with their wild magic, there is a spot for you in this game. Taking your unique playstyle can go outside of combat. As I've said before, this game is kind of a two-part system where role-playing takes the other half. And oh man, can you roleplay in this game? With this game being nearly a perfect replica of the tabletop D&D, there are some things that had to be changed in order for it to be gamified just a little bit better and to give a more fun experience overall. One of those changes is the inspiration system. Instead of just having one, you have 4. Basically, you get a chance to re-roll your ability checks. This makes it to where you get more options to pick and choose whether you fail or succeed. And I know, I did my fair share of save scumming as well. There were definitely times where I did roll with the punches and where I used my inspiration to come in clutch at very key moments for me. And something I didn't realize until I was like 50 hours in was that your background that you choose at your character select screen actually is what gives you your inspiration points, more solidifying your play style and rewarding you for it. You want to be the good guy that helps people all the time? Pick Folk Hero. Every time you go out of your way to help someone in need in a side quest, inspiration point. You like manipulating people and having the charisma to tell people to do what you want when you want because you're a suave bard? There's a background for that. You like stealing a bunch of stuff, pickpocketing people, and take what you want? There's no door or lock that can keep you out? There's a background for that. This game not only allows you to play however you want to play, but it encourages it. It anticipates it.
So is this an accurate representation of what it's like to play Baldur's Gate 3? You can just do anything you fucking want? Because this is actually kind of interesting to me.
Now, this game is big, with interactions having up to a dozen different scenarios. It feels like anything could happen. Now, that's not to say it's as experimental as Tears of the Kingdom is, but it's a lot like Dishonored, where there's multiple paths or choices you could take. This game has multiple endings. I think it's like up to 7, I believe. And from what I can tell from playing the story from different perspectives or points of views, there's 3 ways you can play the game. There's the good way, which seems the most canonical way, the bad evil way where you're kind of just selfish and you do what you want, and then the murder hobo way where you can literally kill just about everyone and still progress the story. And even though all the roads are going down the same direction, it doesn't mean everybody's getting the same story. This isn't like BioWare where you're just kind of like, oh, I pick the good dialogue or I pick the bad dialogue.
Now I'm going in. If I find looters, I'll kill them. Anybody gets in my way, I'll kill them too.
There's more nuance to it. There's layers to it. You could get on the good side of both the good guys and the bad guys and choose at the very last minute who you're going to decide to help after you've weighed every single option. You could gather a militia of NPCs to help you out outside of your main companions that are supposed to stay with you in the story and just kill everyone that's in your path. You could gather up all the explosive barrels on the map and put them in the enemy camp and then blow them up all at once. Yeah, someone did that. And that's just the start. There are so many options just hard coded into the game that they are anticipating or expecting you to do, these routes that you can take. It's insane how many options you have and what you can do for each situation. With the multiple dialogue options, unique dialogue interactions based on your class, your race, and your play style due to your background, all these options with the freedom to choose any of them make it really hard for 2 playthroughs to be the same. Now that's the gameplay. It's great and all, but have you had the sex? Hey, I'm Mario. I like playing video games, watching movies, and Dungeons and Dragons. If you keep getting me in your suggested videos or you're watching this video right here, consider subscribing. It goes a long way. Thank you. Bear sex is all the marketing this game ever needed. 1, it's wild to see. 2, it shows you the scope of the game. If you could have bear sex, then what can you not do in this game? And 3, it's fucking bear sex. The story in this game is epic. Yet, everyone is talking about the characters in the game. And that's because with all the unique dialogues you can have with them, getting to know their own alignment, so you choose or make decisions that will gain their approval, and eventually falling in love with them becomes an adventure in and of itself. With over 100 hours of cutscenes in this game, they went the extra mile and gave unique facial expressions and emotes to just about everyone you interact with in this game. I've never seen so many unique character animations in one game before. If you enjoyed the freedom philosophy of how the gameplay worked, then you'll love how the role-playing aspect goes as well. The story is constantly changing and evolving based on the decisions you make. There is this one playthrough where I naturally went about it in a way where I was interacting with people and enjoyed it and just followed a path that just seemed natural in how the game was supposed to progress. But through a second playthrough, I made different decisions, which led me to a separate route, which then led me to a different part of the game that I didn't even know could exist. And I realized I could make new relationships and talk to people and have a completely unique experience than I did in my previous one. Suffice it to say, my first playthrough could have had the same experience. However, the narrative that I gave myself put me on a path where I accidentally skipped some content, but never felt like I did. Felt like I was still getting the full package and still loving the story that I was creating. And it's experiences like that that gave me the hunger to seek out my companions' side missions, their personal quests, to see how I could influence their development as a character. And along the way, the main story is constantly showing you new twists to the plot or giving a deeper meaning to things that you once learned about before. Overall, keeping you engaged and wanting to get to the next act even sooner. And a lot of the times that would be the case for me. I would continue on the main story and I would start skipping side missions, but Larian gives as much effort as they did into the main plot of the story to all the other side quests as well. I'm not really one to do side missions in video games. I do enough to get the idea, but after a while, a lot of them just end up being repetitive, and I get the point, and I realize I'm not missing out on anything. But in Baldur's Gate 3, I felt so engaged to do the side missions. Not only are they more story for world building, but they progress with you. They evolve at the same time you do. You help someone in Act 1 and they could make it all the way to Act 3. And you get to see your impacts that your decisions make. And they're not always big in revelation. Some of them is just helping someone find their voice, while others may be saving someone from a life of servitude. Nonetheless, seeing your decisions have a rippling effect throughout the world is satisfying.
Absolute was silent. And, strange to say, that brought me comfort.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We're going to corrupt the corrupted girl from her corruption. Baldur's Gate 3 is a game that knows how to give you a sense of fulfillment. I hit a lot of the main things of why this game is great, but there are so many quality of lives that just help it all the more. Like being able to rest just about any time, anywhere. And whatever biome you're currently in will change up where your camp is, how you're resting. Having magic pockets where it doesn't matter if someone is on the other side of the map, you could just take something out of your inventory and put it in their inventory. Or if there's only one shovel between the four of you, if you need to dig something up, then the game will automatically just put it in your character's hands and have you digging it up. The ability to change your class or any of your party members' class at any time. And yes, I know it's for 100 gold, but in the grand scheme of things, it's basically for free with how much money you get in this game. For the game to make it so accessible for you to change your class at a moment's notice is a breath of fresh air. I never once, and still haven't, looked up the meta build or the best class in the game, because whatever I build, I know I can just change it if I don't like it. This game feels like it was made by gamers for gamers. In the current age of gaming right now, it always feels like games are created just to come after my wallet. So for Baldur's Gate 3 to be a game that only wants to bring me joy is wild. It's a feeling I haven't felt in quite some time.
I sense something, a presence I've not felt since...
Now, the game isn't perfect. There are definitely issues with it. There are bugs and glitches, but nobody's talking about those things because none of them are actually game breaking or take you out of the immersion of the game itself. There are a lot, though. There are so many that when Larian Studios posted the patch notes that they put out, it passed this character limit that Steam would allow for people to put up. What's even crazier is that Larian was able to do this 3 weeks after the game had come out. This to me says a lot. When you have other companies that don't fix the game for 6 months, then you have these guys that do it in less than a month. This is the first game that really made me feel nostalgic. I couldn't help but constantly think about what my second playthrough is going to be like. I haven't felt that way since Mass Effect 2, which is why I got to give Baldur's Gate 3 a 10 out of 10. Until next time, play nice. Woo! This game was horny. I loved how horny this game was. God, oh my man, this game was almost as horny as I was. Jeez, I think my multiple playthroughs were just me wanting to go and romance the other people. That's it. Who's your favorite character? I know Asterion is a fan favorite. A lot of them, and when I say a lot of them, I mean some of them, like Asterion, didn't grow on me on first, but then I grew to love characters like Asterion. But gosh, Minthara, oh man. I was so quick to wanting to go evil for her. I love them bad.